Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Doug, and I'm back with another fountain pen video. Today we're going to look at my newest Penbbs 308 in the color Infinite and sporting the gold hardware. I'm going to compare it to my two other Penbbs 308s in cedar and amber, and also to my Wing Sung 699, not because they are similar in any other way other than the color and the trim, which is deliciously gorgeous. So, let's unbox this pen and take a good look at it right now. Okay, here we are with a lovely Penbbs box. Now, this I ordered on January 28th, and considering the momentous events that are happening in China at the moment and the restrictions on travel and so forth, they restricted aircraft going out of the country for quite a while. The fact that I got this in exactly a month, I think is incredible. I didn't expect this until further on into March. But in a couple of days, my wife and I are going to the mountains to celebrate her birthday, and we're going to Canmore, Alberta. It's a beautiful place just outside of Banff, and I'm going to take this pen, and I think there's two pens in here, to the mountains and do some writing and some thoughts about them, write some ideas for a video, and then do the rest of the video when I get back home to Calgary again. So you probably won't see this video for about a week from now, but I thought I'd do the unboxing first, and then we'll go from there. So, get ourselves a sharp knife, and we fast forward as usual and see what's in the box. This is a 308 in a color I've never had before, and that's Infinite.
To infinity and beyond!
And this should be a GF. Nope, I don't see any. Alright, there should be a G on there somewhere. I don't see it, but it's in gold hardware as well. Infinite with gold. And let's take a look at the 308 Penbbs box. I really admire these boxes. I've given a number of gifts away using them. And if you don't know, they have a little magnetic flap on them. And here is the pen. Of course, in our pen condom, we have to have a little bit of ASMR. This gives me other ones. And there we have it. This is Infinite. That's the color, not the pocketbook. The pocketbook is not Infinite. 308 still has to be probably, I would say, Penbbs's flagship model. It's just really the perfect pen, isn't it? Classic cigar shape. This one has gold hardware. I have a cedar with gold hardware as well. Someone on the Fountain Pen Network was bemoaning the fact that Penbbs hate gold. Well, there's a lot of gold out there these days. And one, almost two turns, and we see my favorite fine Penbbs nib in that mini Fude, slightly upturned. Nice barrel-shaped section with a flare. And the pen is eyedropperable with that little O-ring right there. Penbbs converter. Oh, they got a spring in them now. And so you can eyedropper this pen. I'm going to have to compare this to my Wingsung 699, not in terms of the filling system, but just in terms of the color. That is just gorgeous. I will ink them up. First, I'll clean them out. I'll ink them up, and then I'm going to do separate videos, I think, on them. I'll do a video on the 500, and then I'm going to do another video on the 308. But we'll use this video for the unboxing portion of both, since they came out of the same box. Okay, I've inked up the pen with some Iroshizuku Asagao, which is a particularly beautiful, bright, vibrant blue that leans towards the purple side of blue, and is a lovely counterpoint to my other favorite blue, the Iroshizuku Konpeki, which leans towards the green side of blue. So I have my blues covered. I've written with this pen for a couple of days now, and actually featured it in my previous video on nib tuning that I posted a couple of days ago. As I demonstrated in that video, the nib on this pen wrote smoothly, but was a little dry, as is typical of Penn-BBS fine points. Now that I've been writing with it for a while, it is really a very beautiful writing experience, smooth and wet. But before I put up any measurements or size comparisons and do a writing sample, I wanted to compare this pen to my other two Penn-BBS 308s and my Wingsung 699 for color purposes. As I said during the unboxing, I think the 308 is Penn-BBS's flagship pen. I have nothing to go on other than it is a classic cigar shape. Penn-BBS offers it in a huge variety of finishes and nib combinations with silver and gold trim, and it still has its previous model number, here, 266, on the cap. As far as I can discover, the 266 had issues with the section unscrewing when the cap was unscrewed, and the redesign is the 308. The first mention I can find of Penn-BBS pens are from a blog by Frank Underwater in December of 2017, and the earliest review of Penn-BBS from Chris Rap 52 is from a couple of years ago. Chris also mentioned in his first review of the 308 that it was very similar to the Lingmo Lorelei, and that the Penn-BBS was possibly made at the same factory as the Lingmo. I have a Lingmo Lorelei right here, and I can confirm that they are very, very similar. You'd have to look very, very closely to see that this pen here is not a Penn-BBS 308. I've been trying to put together information about the Penn-BBS design and manufacture process, like who does the design, where they built, and things like that, for a video I'm planning devoted to everything Penn-BBS. I want to do an overview of all of the models currently offered and look at the many amazing acrylics they have used in their pens. I've reached out to both Jialong and Baini for information without success. Now, I can understand that they're busy with other things at the moment. But if anyone out there in viewerland had background or resources on the history and organization of Penn-BBS, please let me know in the comment section. I'm aware that Penn-BBS is a Chinese bulletin board service, not unlike the Fountain Pen Network, where Chinese pen enthusiasts have put their heads and their hearts together to build pen designs they themselves would love, and I think that's fascinating. So a future topic, perhaps, something to look forward to. So let's look at the Cedar 308. This pen was my first Penn-BBS pen. I bought it from eBay, and the 4 subsequent 308s I have purchased have all had silicone O-rings in the section, where this one does not. Of course, you only count 3 308s here, and that's because I bought a couple for friends. But you notice this doesn't have an O-ring right here, where every other 308 I've ever seen has that silicone O-ring right at the bottom of the section there, and there's a little groove for that ring to go into that's manufactured in. So I think that's a refinement on the 308, and what we might be seeing in my Cedar 308 is possibly something that's between the 266 and the 308. I'm not sure. If anybody knows why mine doesn't have an O-ring there, maybe you can let me know in the comment section. My second 308 was the Amber is a Cat, and thus began the love affair with Amber is a Cat.
Top Cat, the most effectual Top Cat, whose intellectual close friends get to call him TC, providing it's with dignity. Top Cat.
I speculated today on the Facebook group that Penbbs and Moonman must be sharing suppliers for some of these acrylics, because I swear the new Moonman M800 in blue and amber are the same acrylics as Galaxy and Amber as a Cat, respectively. Chris also commented that he thought it was likely they were using the same supplier out of Taiwan, and that perhaps they both use acrylics from the US as well. Let's compare the Infinite 308 to the Wingsung 699, just in terms of the color. That bright transparent blue with the gold trim is really an eye catcher. I don't know how much you can see on the video, but the Wingsung looks a bit more purple to me than the Penbbs and Infinite, and a little bit more transparent. The Infinite is a little bit more transparent, but that transparent blue reminds me a lot of the Chart blue that you can get in the Platinum Century 3776 pen, which is also very, very attractive. I also want to spend a moment talking about the Penbbs fine nib, what some, including me, have been calling a mini fude nib. This tiny upturn at the end of the tipping material creates a unique writing experience which I've come to love. I find that other nibs that don't do this tend to be a slight disappointment to me now. I've also discovered that this is called a Waverly nib, and I'll put a link to a video from Brian Goulet discussing the Waverly nib on a Pilot Custom 912 in the description below. So perhaps from now on I'll call them the Penbbs Waverly nib. It's easier to say than mini fude. I've got Waverly tuners on my Martin 000 28 VS guitar, and even though they're not even close to being related, they are both luxurious experiences. I've only seen one other nib that is like this, with that slight upturn Waverly style nib. I've never seen the Pilot, but I have got this. This is a Shuiyao. It says 1996 fine china, and as you can see, it has that slight upturn. Not quite as pronounced as the Penbbs, but it definitely is the same writing experience. I got this from Bobby on eBay, and I put it in my Moonman Hidden Path. I think that's what the Penbbs acrylic like this is called, Hidden Path. I'm not sure what the Moonman name for that resin is. And I've got one on my Moonman M600S as well in teal. I took the Moonman nibs out and replaced them with these Waverly style nibs. I gotta get used to saying that, Waverly style. And they are, to me, a much better writing experience. Now it is time for some measurements and size comparisons, and then I'll come back with a writing sample. And please stay tuned after the writing sample for what I like and what I don't like about this pen. And we are back with the writing sample portion of the review. We have the Penbbs 308. And this is a fine nib. And this is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper. The ink today is a Roshizuku Asagao. I mentioned before that I did tune this nib for wetness, but I did not do any smoothing to it at all with any micromesh. Let's check the wetness. As you can see, it's writing very, very wet. It was not this wet when it came out of the box. And line variation, that's no pressure, and a little bit of pressure. Again, you don't get line variation out of this pen with pressure. They don't flex at all. But by changing the angle of the writing on this pen, you can end up with different line thicknesses because of that mini Fude or Waverly nib. As you can see, the line I'm getting by changing the angle of my pen, lower angle, will get a much thicker line. And for some reverse writing, not too bad, very scratchy. But that's what I tend to get out of reverse writing of most nibs. And some quick writing. And let's listen to that nib. This is just really, really, really smooth. This is now sort of elevated to the top of my list of all of my pens. Up there with my Galaxy 480 and my new 492, which is writing beautifully. And what do I like and what do I not like about this pen? Well, pardon me for making a pen pun here, but I just want to gush about this pen. This was my very first Penbbs model, and I fell in love with it right out of the box. I've been collecting inexpensive Chinese pens for over a year now, and in that time I think that I found those things that speak to me personally. Everyone has different tastes, of course.
What garbage?
Well, what do you expect? They're Canadian.
Some like a lot of feedback, soft nib, fine nib, broad, gushers or dry, big pen or pocket pen. Fountain pen writing is visceral. It is more feeling than thinking. I've discovered that these Penbbs fine nibs write in a way that pleases me and actually make me feel like my handwriting is tolerable. I feel like my handwriting gets better if I write with these pens. The cigar shape, the weight, the section, the feel in the hand are all sublime writing experiences for me. And the 308 continues to be the standard by which all other pens are measured. There are a couple of things that are issues with this pen, of course. One is not an issue for me because I'm not interested in swapping these nibs out. And that is there's very little clearance inside this pen, right at the top between the nib and the end of that clip on the inside for any nib swapping. So if you're a nib swapper, you might be careful with this model. Another issue is that the pen doesn't post as securely as I would like it. It does post, and it's actually very comfortable in the hand when you post it like this. But a little bit of a knock will knock that off. And I think the 480 does a much better job of posting. It posts a little bit cleaner and isn't subject to falling off. I can make it fall off, of course, but it's posting a lot cleaner than the 308 and feels a little bit more balanced when it's posted. So I think this is a little bit of an improvement on the 308. And in fact, in many ways, I think the 480 has made some slight improvements over the 308. I like the section, the hourglass section on the 480 a little bit better than I like on the 308, but we're splitting hairs here. This is still a lovely pen in the hand. Lastly, the Penbbs fine nibs generally write dry out of the box, but can be made into nicely wet pens if you tinker a bit. So see my video on that nib tuning to see how I adjusted this nib from a very dry writer into a gusher. And finally, I want to mention that for the money, I think this pen is the best one in my collection. The best one for the money. This pen is available in 13 different finish and nib combinations for $13.99 US. I'll repeat that. This pen is $13.99 US, with a couple of dollars for shipping from Etsy. Now, not this one exactly. This one has the gold trim, so this one was $15.99. But this pen can be had with the silver trim in this color for $13.99. That, to me, is astounding. Yes, of course, the better acrylics cost more. So the Amber is a Cat, the Galaxy, not in this model, but I don't have a Galaxy 308, but the Galaxy and the Amber is a Cat resins are a little bit more expensive. So you're going to pay $32 and change. 33, 34, something like that for the Amber is a Cat when you can find them on Etsy. But still, this Amber is a Cat pen is less than $50 US. It's astonishing, really. It's astonishing that more people don't know about this. Of course, the conundrum is the more people know, the higher the price goes because the demand increases. So walk and get yourself a Penbbs 308 for $13.99 US now and experience this yourself. The Penbbs store on Etsy also sells nib charms like this in various nib sizes from EF, F, RF for round fine, and RM for round medium. And they come in this lovely little acrylic fob. This is an Amber is a Cat medium that came on one of my pens, and I swapped it out for the fine Waverly. But I have a medium here in case I ever want to swap. And I don't think this is a Penbbs nib. I think this is one of my, this is one of my spare Shui Yao Waverly tips. These are only $5. So $13.99 for your pen, and get yourself some nibs to swap out. You can experiment with their nibs without breaking the bank. Of course, you can also put a Jovo, Box, Schmidt, Nemocine, or whatever standard number 6 you like into these pens, with the caution about the 308 clearance issue. So that's my take on this fabulous fountain pen. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to be notified when new videos are posted. And that just leaves it for me to say, thank you for watching. And that's all she wrote.